folks, and today I thought we'd talk a little bit about data or data, depending upon the way that you want to pronounce it. And the reason I thought we'd talk about this is not a week goes by that I don't have a conversation with somebody about some of their data, typically something like cadence or stride length or something like that. And then today I was also in a conversation in a Facebook group I'm in about all this data. So when I talk about data, what I mean, it's probably with Garmin, but there's a lot of other devices. It's things like your cadence, ground contact time, vertical oscillation, which I see I abbreviated incorrectly, stride length, and then plus. I could fill 3 pages with all the running metrics or dynamics, all the data that you could be collecting. I'm here to tell you, I'm a data person. I collect a lot of that stuff myself. So of course then people say, that's great that you collect all this data, so what do you do with it? I largely ignore it. What? So why do you ignore the data? So I ignore the data because, well, first of all, it's a guesstimate. It's non-specific, and it's not really actionable. What do I mean by a guesstimate? So all the running dynamics, it's kind of theorized what that should be. So let's look at your stride length, for example. I'm not 100% sure this is exactly how Garmin does it, but I got to believe it's pretty close. Every time you swing your arm, Garmin assumes that you went a step. That's how it gets to your cadence. The fact is that number is going to be probably pretty close, but not exactly right. You'd be surprised how often during running you might not be swinging that arm. You look at your watch, you're missing an arm swing. Some people, when they do a curve, they miss an arm swing. It'll be close. It's probably not going to be your exact cadence. Next, when a mile is up, according to Garmin and GPS, you almost certainly have not run a mile. You've probably run just a little bit over a mile or a little bit under a mile. GPS is just only close. So I'm taking a cadence that's kind of close. I'm taking a distance I went that it's kind of close, and it's saying this is your stride length, which means it's really just kind of close. So it's a guesstimate what it should be. It's non-specific. Just because I know my stride length, I don't know what it should be. Now, in some cases, you can find books or websites that say this is the number that everybody should have. I tell you, that's not really the case. The numbers for everything really become a little bit unique to the individual. Just because somebody else has a stride length of 3 meters or whatever doesn't mean that that's the right stride length for you. And it's not really actionable. So just because I know my stride length, well, what in the world do you do with that? So although I collect all this information, I do largely ignore it. So what do I do with it? Well, I look at trends in the data, and I also look at like runs. And the reason I say like runs is a lot of those dynamics are going to change depending on the type of running that you're doing. Let's use my cadence, for example. So Garmin will tell me if I'm out doing a typical long run, my cadence is going to be around 172, 174. If I'm doing, say, track work, my cadence might be more like 190 or 192. The faster I run, the quicker my cadence becomes, and that's pretty common for most people. So I do look at trends over time, but I have to look at like runs, because if I compared my cadence on a fast day to the slow runs, I go, oh, wow, my cadence has really improved. Not necessarily. It's a like run, and I look at those trends. So here's why I look at the trends and what do you do about it, because in some cases you do want to improve. Running efficiency is very important. Your body is an amazing machine. Your body is always going to run as efficiently as it can for the tools, if you will, that you are giving your body to run with. That doesn't mean you're running efficiently. It means it's running as efficiently as it can for what you have given it to work with. So what do you work on? You work on things like muscular strength and not having muscular imbalances. So strength training, and it's not just strength training, it's making sure the left side, the right side are both kind of equal. But if you've got muscular imbalances, that's going to affect your running efficiency. Your body will adjust for that, but it won't make you as efficient as you can be. Range of motion is very important, and then flexibility is very important. So the way I work on my running dynamics is I work to try and eliminate muscular imbalances. I work on my range of motion, and flexibility is a big one for me. I am a tight person. But as I am able to improve any of those, then I will see changes over time in my running dynamics. So they're kind of the end result of doing the other things. So I think collect the data. I think the data will get better and better with time. But again, that data is still not going to be necessarily actionable or non-specific. The real key to becoming a better runner is muscular imbalances, range of motion, and flexibility.